Welcome to the Aussie Game Podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. Mopper's here with me to unpack a huge week of Australian football. How are you, Mopper? Busy day for you?
Oh, wow. What a fantastic week we've had. It's gone all over the place, isn't it, football? We've had the highs. We've had some great success early in the week, and then we've had three injuries, unfortunately, overnight. We've had three goals at the wrong end. We've had some good wins, and we've had some Aussies that didn't have much luck last night. And then we've got some intriguing clashes tonight as well to look forward to, and this week. But I think we better start back home with the massive derby that in the Melbourne last night, because the stars were out. We had some royalties, some of our primetime best coaches ever to coach the game, succeeding over in Europe and overseas in Asia, attend the game, and one of our excellent players that have played in the A-League that set it alight in as well. So let's break down the derby. What a game it was.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We'll crack right into the Melbourne Derby in just a second. I just want to take a quick moment to say well done to the APL with all the games in the men's and women's A-League, observing a minute silence for those affected by the events at Bondi Beach last Sunday. We'd also like to pass on all our condolences to all those who have been affected for just such a tragic incident. And it's hard to turn attention to something like football that seems so trivial at this moment, but it's what we're here to do, and hopefully we can provide some entertainment for those who are still feeling the effects of last weekend. So let's talk about the Melbourne Derby, mate, because the headline from this one was that it was Matty Grimaldi scoring the winner. I mean, stoppage time to win the Derby. Victory was Grimaldi's boyhood club that he returned to after Western United's hibernation. And he even mentioned in the post-match interview how it was a really stressful time for him when everything was happening with Western United, and when Melbourne Victory came knocking, that there was no other choice than to return to his boyhood club. And what an opportunity and what a chance that he took last night. I'm sure he's probably gone to so many Melbourne derbies as a fan, and to play in that spectacle and to score the winner and to have the crowd calling his name at the end of the game, what an amazing thing for this young, talented footballer to have.
Yeah, what a story. Yeah, no, joined Melbourne City in 2021, played a couple of years there, 33 games and 2 goals for their MPL side. Before, like you said, moving to Western United and having a great start there. He first started Western United in the MPL like he was with Melbourne City, with 26 appearances, 5 goals. And before he made his debut in 2023, went on to make 52 appearances for Western United with 10 very important goals. And he represented Australian under-23s with 6 appearances and 2 goals. So what a story, coming full circle with Melbourne Victory after being with all three Melbourne clubs.
Yeah, look at he was a very talented player at Western United and really had that breakthrough season last season. So I'm glad that he's been given an opportunity. He has gone through a few ups and downs, even at his short time with Melbourne Victory. Started the season, but now Santos has kind of come in and taken that spot that he had. But he's given a couple of minutes off the bench last night, and it was him that took the opportunity. So let's talk through the game. As you mentioned, there was some royalty in the house. Ange Postecoglou, Kevin Muscat, Besart Berisha, just a few to name. So fantastic to see some of those huge names in Australian football go back and attend the Melbourne Derby. And Muskie was interviewed at halftime, and we hear about these stories of them walking down the street and people flooding out of pubs and cafes just to get their selfies and signatures, and it just shows what they mean to Australian football fans, but probably in particular Melbourne football fans, that they get that kind of attention. So it was an absorbing game, 0-0 for a long part of it, but plenty of chances for both teams. Both keepers were really good. Jack Duncan made 4 saves throughout. Just want to touch quickly, Mopper, on what a contest it was between a couple of our young Socceroos in Max Caputo and Sebastian Esposito. Caputo, he put himself about all night, and Harper said a couple of times in the commentary how that's the best game that he's seen Max Caputo play, and hard to disagree, but Esposito was right there challenging him all the way.
Oh, what a great leader Esposito is. And I thought it was Esposito's best game too. Really flourishing after leading the under-20s in the World Cup, and coming back and into the lineup, he missed a couple of games for Victory, but starting most games, but really stood up last night in the big derby. And Caputo, he's just appreciating the additional football of Asia, and also was in that World Cup under-20 side. And I think both flourishing off the success of that side, and obviously winning the Asia Cup. And look, they had a difficult World Cup group. We had high expectations for them, but they've come back to the A-League starting every week pretty much, and just thriving and growing in their football. And it's just so great to see.
Yeah, Seb Esposito was mentioned pre-game that he's obviously on loan from Lecce, and he's out here getting some experience. So we'd probably expect him to go overseas at the end of the season, and wouldn't be surprised if Max Caputo is right behind him, getting a move as well. For Melbourne City, we saw Kai Truan go back into the back line for Melbourne City. Cyprian out injured, so shows again his versatility. Kai Truan, just his ability to move between that six and into the centre back roles. I thought Juan Mata was really good again for Melbourne Victory, and I just want to point out that for the goal that Grimaldi scored, we're in the stoppage time in the second half. This guy is 37 years old, true professional, but he sprinted over to that corner, played that ball quickly, got to John Rowe, laid it off for Grimaldi. And that chance probably doesn't come about if there's not that urgency there from Juan Mata. So continuing to prove his worth in this team, and I think there were so many good things that came through him last night.
Yeah, I thought that corner broke the shape of City. Mata's played some high long balls to far post in the corners throughout the match, and then that short one, they just weren't ready for it, and it separated them out of their shape, and you could see the space that opened up due to them being a bit disorganised, and Grimaldi's just taken that space and taken advantage of it. And, it was probably only the first time that they really looked out of shape in defence, City, and they got punished for that lapse from the corner.
Yeah, so with this 1-0 result, and it was I think both managers interview post game kind of said it could have gone either way, and it really could have. Mehmeti had a kind of point blank header that went straight at Jack Duncan, but he did well to keep it out. But both teams really could have jagged the 3 points here. But it was Victory that got the points, and it moves them off the bottom of the ladder. And that's 2 wins in a row for them, and what a difference a couple of weeks makes when they were under so much pressure after that 0-0 draw against Macarthur. But they're starting to turn that corner a little bit. We spoke about this last week. They've now got 3 home games in a row against Wellington, Perth, and the Wanderers. So very, very winnable games, and we might see Melbourne Victory go on a little bit of a run here.
Yeah, I was never really concerned about Victory. I know there was a bit in the press putting some pressure on him about Doles and his job, but they just had to find the right balance, and they're starting to make bigger calls. You can see some of the players that were benched last night just not upsetting that structure that they've had the last 3 or 4 weeks. We've seen the improvement, and at Jenner, obviously on the bench, Grimaldi on the bench, not forcing them into the lineup that throws out that balance. And it's definitely had an impact. And look, they've got too much quality. They've had some players come back as well, which has allowed them that depth. But on the other side of the pitch, I thought City controlled the ball a bit better. It showed in the possession stats are a little bit more effective with the ball around the pitch. But both teams did create a lot of good chances in that, with 12 shots on goal from City and 14 from Victory. So they did create, but City's still a lot more effective with the ball around the pitch. But Victory, bit pass accuracy was a little bit down, but definitely can create and are very dangerous with that front four. And what they've got on the bench now, adding to that and having players like that come off the bench now without upsetting that shape and structure. And their definitely presence in defensive transition, like we've been testing them on, has definitely come back. And the intensity was there last night. They wanted it more, and they got the result.
Yeah, they definitely were well worth the 3 points last night. And yeah, we spoke about that balance and how important that was last week. And I think Genre not being thrown straight back into the lineup, and he came on for Dorigo later on in the game. But I think that's right. You can't just throw your best 11 players out there. You really got to find that balance between what's going to work for you as a team. And for Melbourne City, that was their first of 7 straight home games in a row. So I think there's the opportunity now. They haven't got ACL elite for a little bit of time now. So it's really the time for them to start to get some players back through injury. They've got a makeup game against Macarthur during the week, but a chance for them to just settle a little bit into their season. And I think they'll be okay in terms of consistency as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams looking good, even though they're just mid-table at the moment, but it's so tight. And as we said earlier on today, we've got the top two playing each other this week in what will be a cracker. And I think that ladder will stay condensed. And you're 100% right. With the ACL out the way, with them in a great position and coming back in late January, February for that, I think, they've got a good 4 to 6 weeks to put on a run.
All right. We're
They're
going to go
too
through
good
the
not
rest.
to, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. We're going to go through the rest of the A-League action a little bit later, but let's go through Mopper's midweek wrap, mate. Over to you.
All right, we are the champions, my friend. Keno Bacchus, St Mirren, smashed Celtic 3-1 to claim the Scottish Cup. A little bit of fortuitousness in the goals, but what a win to St Mirren. We've got another Aussie that lifts a trophy so early on this year in the season. What a fantastic result, and has put shudders through Celtic. They're in all sorts of trouble.
The Aussies just beating up on Celtic.
I know. And unfortunately, though, we've got some bad news. Bacchus is out and has sustained a major hamstring injury for 3 months. It looks like he'll be out. So devastating news on the injury front. But he has a trophy, and it was a well-deserved trophy. They were really spirited, and the emotions just were too much for Celtic as St Mirren went on an absolute barnstorming game. So congratulations to St Mirren and Bacchus, who win the Scottish Cup. The first trophy in Scotland is theirs. On Tuesday, let's go to the Championship. Callum Elder keeps a clean sheet in Derby's 3-0 win over Leicester. That was a great win. On Wednesday, we had Adam Hrustic with a goal and assist in Herakel's 4-1 win in the KNVB Cup over in Holland. And then we had some announcements. On the 17th of December, we had the Australian Professional League announced the appointment of its new chief executive, Steve Royce. Royce joins the A-League with over 25 years of senior leadership and commercial experience in elite sport, including 16 years as a CEO across the AFL at Fremantle Dockers. He was in the racing major events at Victoria Racing Club for 4 years, and only recently leading an innovative medical technology company with BrainEye. So he has a very good CV in finance. What are your thoughts on the appointment there with Steve? I know we've had some mixed reactions, but I did some investigating too early in this week. But I think the CV looks quite good.
Yeah, I think my initial thoughts are that it needed to happen first and foremost. We'd had Stephen Connery in a bit of an interim role there for a while. So to get a permanent appointment, CEO just kind of needed to happen in terms of the APL's direction. I've seen a lot of noise on social media in terms of people, I suppose, labeling him in the same way that we've seen some previous administrators come in to the APL. And probably what my feelings are is that I think that's a bit unfair. A lot of people saying, "Oh, he's not a football person, and he's coming from, obviously, AFL and racing kind of background." But I think until he actually has the chance to implement some ideas and see what he does, I'd be hesitant to pass too much judgment on him as others have done. So I think let's give him a chance. Look, if he doesn't perform, let's be critical of him for sure. Let's give him the chance to do what he needs to do. And I think part of that is, there's a commercial element of it for sure, but I think probably getting some fan support and some fan feedback as well in terms of how the A-Leagues, both men's and women's, can continue to progress. But yeah, I think the main message is let's give Steve the chance to implement what he needs to do, and let's save any criticism until further into his reign if it's warranted.
All right, so let's have a look at Steve. I've just got a few business updates for him. So he was the behind BrainEye's cutting-edge app, tracks your eye responses on your smartphone. His tenure in the VRC, so he emerged from the COVID-19 period well placed, with the business achieving significant milestones, including, and this is what we're after in the football world, record membership, record corporate revenue, growth in Cup Week crowds, new media and wagering partnership with Tab and Nine Entertainment, and a record economic contribution. That is definitely in line with what we're after. If you look at the Dockers, where he spent most of his time, during the first 4 years, it was said that it was the most consistent. They made the finals appearance, highlighting being their only grand final appearance in 2013 and minor premiership in 2015. He's credited with the financial stability, leaving the club in good shape corporately and financially, and overseeing infrastructure, the development of elite world-class training facilities, which is a key asset for player recruitment and retention. And very high on his radar were commercial deals, as he secured major sponsorship, extended through and ranks very high in the league for corporate membership revenue. It looks pretty good to me. Financially, if you think what we want out of a CEO, it's governance, government input. He's in the technology space. He's driving sponsorship members and crowds. This is exactly what I think we need. I couldn't care less whether it's football or not. He's got to make decisions on football matters, absolutely. But a business is a business, and a business has to be profitable. And he looks like he's well credentialed to do that. Don't you think? If you look at the expectations and challenges, what are we after in football? Commercial growth, addressing the challenges, and really a fresh perspective, aren't we? Are we not?
I think, yeah, there's definitely a case for that. And I think, at this particular time where the APL is struggling financially, I think there's definitely that element where we need commercial deals and corporate arrangements for that type of thing. I just think we need to make sure that we're not losing sight of the fan touch. We've seen that in the past where there's the idea of a quick cash grab without consideration of the fans as well. So I think he needs to balance that out. And I'm not saying that he hasn't done that in his previous roles. It's hard to know from what you've just said there whether that is involved, but we can't just alienate the fans completely, because one element is that we need to start getting fans more engaged. I think some have been disengaged from decisions of previous administration, so we need to make sure we find that right balance. But certainly if he has the acumen to be brilliant bringing in these corporate deals, and we can get some finances behind us, I think that's all well and good.
Absolutely. Money is king in this game, and it'll drive, if it can drive profitability, you can reinvest. So, look, we wish him all the best, and love to hear from the fans. What's your feedback? Send us in some messages or some thoughts. Love to hear what you're thinking. But yeah, look, good appointment, I think, from my perspective. But obviously, like you said, time will tell when he gets into this role, because he's got a number of major issues he has to tackle. He's got a difficult job ahead, but we wish him all the best. And look, if it's a skilled person that can improve Australian football, I'm all for it. So let's see how he goes. All right, let's move on to Thursday. Doesn't stop here, Chief. Zach Sabsford, what a goal. Scores the winning goal, which is an absolute screamer. Get on the highlight show for this one, to give Dundee United a 2-1 win over none other than Celtic. It's the Aussie Bash game. Smash and grab again. The Aussies put them down, and Celtic in all sorts of trouble. But what about Dundee United? What a great win. Get them at a great time. And what about that goal, Chief?
Oh, man, it was a cracker. And we've seen Zach Sabsford score all kinds of goals, and the calls for him to be included in the Socceroo squad only got louder and louder after everyone saw those highlights. So I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
All right, let's go to girl power now. Sam Kerr scores Chelsea's winner as they get a 2-1 result in the Champions League. That was a great goal too. We're banging them in. Go the Aussies. Geordie Boss over in Holland plays 90 minutes in the first time since Socceroos versus USA. But unfortunately, Feyenoord lose, making it 7 out of 9 losses. They're on a bit of a bad run at the moment. Still second though, but just can't seem to get their fluency right what they had at the start of the year. The Arsenal trio win 3-0 again in the Champions League, and Cooney Cross plays 90, Catley 65 minutes, and Ford 25, as all three girls have an impact in that 3-0 win. And on that night, the under-18, the SBS Cup in Japan, went down 3-0 to Spain. So don't worry about the result. How good is it playing Spain over there? That's great exposure for the young fellas. All right, let's move on to Friday's action. Mitchell Baker selected by Colorado Rapids as the number 10 pick in the MSL Super Draft. So that was some exciting news for an Aussie to get, the American alignment of Super Draft over there. So he was number 10 pick. We
Yeah,
might do
high
a look.
high peak for Baker, and obviously he's going to have Lucas Errington there in shortly. So, Aussie teammate on the books.
All right. And Dylan Wenzel Hall scores 2 crackers, crucial goals in Penang's 3-0 win as they flirt with relegation, so pick up some crucial points there. And Chief, let's go to overnight where we've seen overseas 3 Aussies score at the wrong end, and then injury curse strikes again as 3 Aussies go down and are struck down. Let's break it down overnight. Let's start with the championship.
Yeah, we do like to wake up on a Sunday morning and skim the highlights and hope that a few players banged in some goals, and they did, but it was at the wrong end, mate. So let's go through them anyway. So let's start with the championship. Cam Burgess, he scored an early own goal, but Swansea recovered to beat Wrexham 2-1. It was a big result for Swansea. They want to just keep away from that relegation area. Burgess played 90 minutes in this one. Blackburn, Lewis Miller, 3 points and a clean sheet in a 2-0 win over Millwall. Big win for Blackburn. First win in 6 games as they edge away from the relegation zone, and great performance from Miller. He's really kind of finding his feet in that right centre-back role, which is an interesting conundrum potentially for Tony Popovic to deal with, whether he plays him out of position for the Socceroos or whether he looks to bring him in that right centre-back. Obviously, Sicardi has been in there in the past, but probably good headaches to have for Tony Popovic in terms of versatility.
I think it gives him really good defensive accountability, even if he's right wing back. I think we've seen Lewis Miller kind of, switch off in a couple of times in some crucial moments in some big games. But I think this inside right, or whether he plays right wing back for the Aussies, just might tighten his defence up and make a better capable player.
Do you think it stops his go forward? Do you think that's just naturally in his game?
I think it's natural in his game when he plays for the Socceroos because he's developed that way. But I think this defensive accountability with Blackburn is teaching him a lot. It's making him sit, making him hold, good positional awareness, which I think the positional awareness was a gap in his game. And I think coming to the championship at a higher level is really getting those fundamentals right and making him a better overall player.
I wonder if they had him earmarked as that spot when they brought him in, because he is a big, tall, strong lad, and we've seen him. He's good in the air, even on those attacking set pieces. We've seen him score a few goals for the Socceroos. So he seems like the type of prototype that might suit that right centre back anyway.
Well, Blackburn deliberately went out to him because they lost their 2 right backs last year. So but the change of formation seems to be, maybe that was after their slow start. They did go through a bit of a slump, and maybe that slotting him back in inside right, they feel like he can do a good job. He definitely physically can match it in the championship there. So maybe Blackburn has really just got him to solidify that defence.
Yeah. But big win for Blackburn to just stay away from that relegation zone. They don't want to be pulled into that scrap. All Aussie clash as Derby draw with Portsmouth. That was 1-1. Callum Elder starts for Derby and plays a full game. Hayden Matthews played a full game, which is really positive. He's stringing a few full games together, but unfortunately conceded an own goal in this one. Segacic comes on in the 68th minute as the honours even. Watford, they've moved up to 10th as Iran Kunda comes on for a late cameo. Good 1-0 win as they continue their solid form. Yeah, they're under a lot of pressure a couple of weeks back, so good for them as a club, but we'd like to see Iran Kunda get a few more minutes. This one's a bit concerning, mate. Borough missed a chance to close the gap on Coventry as they go down 2-0 to Bristol City, who have taken a few Aussie scalps, I think, this season. Bad news for McGree. He starts, but the injury curse continues as he comes off early in the 16th minute. Sammy Silvera is an unused sub. Yeah, bad night for Borough on all fronts. I know you've got an update from McGree, but I just wanted to quickly say that when I was reading through some of the comments about Ryland McGree, we're obviously biased here in the Aussie game for our Aussie players, but so many Borough fans that I saw mentioned that they kind of fell apart as soon as Ryland McGree went off the field. So it just shows you how much that they're adoring him at the moment and how much they know that he means to the makeup of their club.
Yeah, he's a blue chip. We've talked about it all year. and we had to wait a while to see him return after just before the season started, got re-injured, and they just took his time. The reports are that it's not as serious as what they first thought, but they need further investigation to clarify that. So hopefully it's only minor. He just felt something that wasn't right. So again, precautionary. So let's hope it stays that way. He just lost balance as he went past the player and, was pulled off obviously after 16 minutes. So watch this space. Hopefully we get some good news back from the medical team, but no doubt they will not be rushing him back like they did last and take that patient avenue. But yes, the Borough fans are definitely and have good sentiments with Aussie players, don't they? With Mark Schwarzer there as well for a very long time. So I think Borough,
For Duca as well,
Duca as well, yeah. So had a very good relationship with Aussie players and very successful ones at that.
All right, mate. Do you want to take us through League One?
Well, this is going to be the tough call. Joe Gauci remains on the bench, on the pine for Port Vale as they go down 1-0 and remain last. Is January the time to look at options, Chief, if there is some, and push for another loan if possible, if that is a possibility with his club and agent? Obviously, Aston Villa owns the rights. They'd have to renegotiate, but he can't sit on the bench. This is just not good news for Joe Gauci.
I think not good news for Gauci, not good for the Socceroos, but also can't be good for Aston Villa as well. I'm sure that they figured going down to League One level that they wouldn't see their second or / third choice keeper being put on the bench. So I think if this continues, I'm sure that Aston Villa will be having conversations with Port Vale, and whether that's to get him some more game time or whether that's to get him out of there and get him onto another club. So yeah, watch this space, I suppose, but not good for all parties involved.
Yeah, look, it'd be interesting to know the details of the clauses, but those contracts, they're like a novel in themselves. All right, let's go back after their 3-1 loss to Chelsea midweek in the quarterfinals of Carabao Cup. Cardiff can't back it up and go down 2-1 to Lincoln. So they lost 2 games, one the quarterfinal to Chelsea and 2-1 to Lincoln. But they remain top. Alex Robinson, another Aussie, scored an own goal. The story of the night last night, but plays 74th minute in an unhappy week for Cardiff. So not so good on the own goal front. 90 minutes for Rafael Borges Rodriguez and 15 minutes for Tyrese Francois as Wigan go down 2-0 as well in League One to Blackpool. So it wasn't a good night in League One for the Aussies. All right, let's go to Scotland. Isn't it all happening up in Scotland? And we've got some massive games tonight, but let's just wrap up last night. We had an all-Aussie affair in Scotland and a goal for Aussie Martin Boyle as they draw with Dundee United 1-1. Satson played a full game, but again, injury curse has struck Ryan Strain. He's had an awful battle in the last couple of years. He come off after 5 minutes, which is bad news there. We don't have an update, but we'll try to get one during the week. Hibbs Martin Ford plays 64 minutes. He was on fire. I'm surprised they took him off. He was one of the players of the match there. And Iredale, as he always, Mr. Consistent, plays a full game. Motherwell, well, they are in super form. Great form continues. A 1-0 win over Dundee, moving them up to third, and are on a 10-game unbeaten run in the league. Can you believe Motherwell is on a 10-game unbeaten?
They're on fire, mate, and they play beautiful football as well. So good that we've got a couple, three Aussies there.
Yep, and that absolutely, and they all played. We had Johnny Katrumbas plays 58 minutes. We have Stam Telopoulos and Oscar Priestman who come off the bench in the second half as the Aussies continue to march up the table. They're up to third, mate, and they've got
Rangers next week, mate. So that's a massive opportunity. I know that both Celtic and Rangers have got some games in hand, but yeah, Motherwell on an absolutely amazing run. Yeah, those 3 Aussie boys, Katrumbas starts pretty much every week. And yeah, Stamatolopoulos and Priestman, have been getting some starts, but some games off the bench. But we talk about Hearts a lot, but wouldn't be surprised if, particularly with the way Celtic are going at the moment, see if we can have another Aussie-influenced club putting some pressure on those big boys in Celtic and Rangers.
Absolutely. No Bacchus, unfortunately, for St Mirren, but the Cup champions win 1-0 against Livingston. But as I reported earlier, Devastating news. Backus out for 3 months with a hamstring injury. Teddy Yangi plays 77 minutes for Livingston, and Ryan McGowan is suspended in that one. All right, Chief, let's go over in Europe, over in Netherlands.
Yeah, Heracles go down 3-0 after their midweek cup win to Herenveen with Hrustic playing full game. They do only remain 1 point above relegation, and they have played a game more than some of their rivals. So, yeah, there's a bit of they were on a really good run, Heracles, but it hit a bit of a dip. In form, unfortunately. But let's hope that consistent game time keeps happening for Aiden Hrustic. One club in a whole lot more danger than Heracles is NAC Breda, who lost 1-0 to Telstar, who were previously last before this game, and NAC Breda are now last. Max Ballard played a full 90 minutes in this one, but very concerning for Max Ballard. You'd hope that he can stay in the Eredivisie and keep up that standard of football, and he's not dropping down a level. But plenty of time still to go in the season and for them to turn around their form. Kampupion played the second half in ADO Den Haag's shock 2-1 loss to Zhong PSV as well. So a little bit of a blip for ADO Den Haag, but they're still well clear at the top in the Erste Divisie. In Germany, mate, 22 minutes off the bench for Haley Razzo in Eintracht Frankfurt's 4-1 win. And also Jamila Rankin played 73 minutes in Hoffenheim's big 5-1 win. And busy night for Matt Ryan in Spain.
Yeah, mate. Levante, they steal a point late in a 1-1 draw with Real Sociedad as Ryan plays another strong game. 5 key saves. They remain last, though, unfortunately. And they're drifting 6 points from safety now, so warning signs out. And I believe they're against Sevilla next, which is a mid-table team. So Levante looking in a lot of trouble in Spain. In Italy, we've got Jess Nash starts with Sassuolo as they knock out the Coppa Italia. They're out of the competition, losing 3-1 to Napoli. Jacinta Galabarachi plays the last 23 minutes off the bench. Staying in Italy, Alex Chidiac also starts for Como, but they're also knocked out of the cup. So not a good night for the Aussies girls in the cup. In France, Macarthur starts and makes 3 saves for Lyon in a 3-0 win. That's Lyon having a 100% record after 11 games, and they're on fire, taking charge of the French league over there. All right, Chief, that's a wrap of Europe. Let's head back home to wrap up the rest of the A-League.
Yeah, mate, let's touch on the next game after Melbourne Derby, and we spoke about victory turning a corner and this team potentially last week, and it looks like they potentially have with the Newcastle Jets beating Sydney FC 2-0. This one was all about the local boys. Will Dobson and Xavier Bertoncello stole the headlines as the Jets reversed a 4-1 defeat to the Sky Blues from earlier in the season with the 2-0 win. I tell you what, mate, that dynamic midfield of Will Dobson, Alex Badalado, Clayton Taylor, and Eli Adams, those guys, 23 and under, it's just so exciting to watch when they're firing. And to be honest, Sydney FC had no answers, particularly in the open field against those 4. They were so dangerous. They're so quick, and they're just on fire all day. Plenty for the Newcastle fans to get excited about.
Oh, I love when they transition to football. I just love it. The speed of the ball is just unbelievable. The movement's great. And when these 4 are all on song, it really works. And Newcastle have jumped up too, which is fantastic. After a little blip there at the start, they just found out defensively and defensive transition. But that's a massive win to beat Sydney 2-0. And, mate, sign all these players up for 5 years. Those poachers could be coming after these 4, let me tell you, and at least make some money off them when they do move on, because obviously they'll need to develop their game at some stage.
Yeah, I think Clayton Taylor coming in, I think makes a big difference to this team, just his out and out speed and his directness. But yeah, all 4 of them, and you got Lockie Rose playing in front of them, Costa Grozos behind them, probably has to do a bit more work than he would prefer to do, given the attacking ability of these front 4. But I think that Auckland game when they played in those horrible conditions in the wet, real turning point for this team. I think just becoming more solid, more resilient in defence. Mark Natter was really fantastic in defence for them as well. But I think they've found that right balance between the attacking ability that they had through the Australia Cup run and then at the start of the season, but a bit more solid in defence. But even the work rate of these guys that four across the midfield, yeah, unbelievable yesterday. So Will Dobson scored the first goal for the Jets. He was found by Clayton Taylor. His initial shot was saved by Devon Mears, but he followed up to slot home. And then what about this strike? Xavier Bertoncello. He unleashed a rocket cutting inside from the left. He hitting it into the far corner. And I'll tell you what, mate, there was a shot about 10 minutes after that. He almost did exactly the same thing. He is a talent.
I love him. Chief, I've been talking him up all year, watching him in the Hahn Cup as well. I just love him. He's one of my favourite young players. I just hope for Newcastle's sake they can hold on to him for a little bit longer to see out the season and most importantly, do what they've earned, which is get into Asia. That will be fantastic if we get to see them after their Hahn Cup win. But yeah, I think they're going to be a good surprise packet. We said they'd be up there somewhere in that top six, and we're a little bit concerned, like you said. I thought defensive transition, they were just a little bit exposed by their attack, but they seem to have found that right balance, like you said. It's just an exciting time for the Jets, isn't it? I just hope the crowd gets out and really watches some great Aussie talent on show.
Yeah, absolutely. They're exciting to watch, and I think, as I said, they've found that right balance. It's the Jets' second home win of the season. They only won 3 at home all of last season. So their home fans have really been starved of success. They've got, obviously, the Australia Cup in the trophy cabinet now. And, yeah, let's hope that they can put some games together now and give those home fans a reason to come out. It's really exciting football, but I think sometimes if the wins don't follow, it gives fans a reason not to turn up. But tell you what, on the basis of what we saw yesterday, yeah, it's going to be really exciting times for the Newcastle Jets. And as you said, hopefully they can stay together for a little bit. But no doubt if they continue that there'll be some clubs coming looking for these players. So they move up to 5th on the back of 3 wins in their past 4. Let's quickly touch on Sydney FC, mate. They've given up top spot to Auckland FC, who they play next week. Joe Lolly returned from injury. He looked really dangerous when he was out there, but unfortunately he's gone off again. And I think for Sydney FC, their depth has really been challenged. Love Abelwalti as a player, but he's not Joe Lolly at this stage of his career. And then I think they're really missing Ocon Engsler just to balance out their midfield too.
Definitely. Yeah, it's just that passing and that link-up play that Ocon provides, isn't it? And just that cover. You need him in this midfield to stop those 4. That would have been his job. So, look, they're still in a very good position. And I think their true test is this week. They're at home. They've got top of the table up for grabs. They've got all the fans have got every opportunity to see a top clash. So hopefully they get out and support them. But they've still got a little bit of depth themselves. I know they've got a couple out. But, yeah, look, it's a very even A-League. These two, Auckland and Sydney, have put their noses out in front and have played some good football. What about the resilience of the Jets, though? They've been playing in a swimming pool over in New Zealand and have to come back to sweltering weather over in Newcastle. So they've had the best. They've had the best of both worlds. It's like wonder what they'll get next week.
Well, even like you say that because they were in Auckland with the wet, and then they came back to Melbourne City with that 1-0 loss in the extreme heat. Then they went back to Wellington last weekend, and then back to Newcastle for this weekend in the heat. So they really have gone through a bit. But as I mentioned last week, I think sometimes that those trips and particularly the wins really galvanizes the team. So look, I think they've got the opportunity now to really, consolidate what they've done in the early parts of the season, and I think this will give them plenty of confidence. And look, these young players, they're going to go through ups and downs, but at the moment they're playing with plenty of confidence, and I'm sure that's what Mark Milligan will install in them.
Got every advantage next Friday. Macarthur has to go midweek against Melbourne City, and then back up on Friday night. That's a bit of a schedule nightmare for Macarthur. So Friday night, Boxing Day. So hopefully a big crowd gets out that for Newcastle because I think they'd have the advantage with those extra couple of days rest.
Yeah, really good opportunity to get it make it three. They'll make it 3 wins in a row for the Jets, and they'll be absolutely flying, pun intended. All right. Macarthur, speaking of, they beat Brisbane 2-1 on Friday night. Before this one, they'd won just 1 in 5 in the league coming to this game. Lightning delayed kickoff for over an hour. I think we might need to rename them to Macarthur Storm or Macarthur Lightning because it always seems to happen out there at Campbelltown. Brisbane were definitely the more dominant team in the first 20 minutes. Chris Long looking dangerous. Jay O'Shea missed a good chance that he put over the bar. Macarthur got back into it a little bit toward the end of the first half, started to create some chances, but nothing too threatening. And then Brisbane closed out the half the stronger side, but it was a quick start in the second half, 3 minutes in. Matthew Dench finishing off a nice move from the Raw. They've been criticised a bit for being quite direct, Brisbane, but this was definitely a nice move, playing it all the way from the back, all the way to the front through the lines, and Dench finished quite well. And then it was 2 penalties from Macarthur, so both converted by Harry Sawyer, who's pretty clinical from the penalty spot, the big man. The first one was a bit soft from Lucas Harrington, probably there, but I think Bernardo probably played for it a bit, but hard for the referee, and probably VAR wouldn't have been able to overturn that one. The second was definitely there. Noah Moroney grabbed Harry Sawyer's shirt only 30 seconds after he was brought on the pitch. So not a great start for Moroney, but Sawyer finished both those penalties quite well. But you probably say that Brisbane dominated the game, but Macarthur scored the goals that mattered, and they got a really important win for them. As I said, only 1 in 5 before this one.
Oh, they threw it away, Brisbane. Yeah, Harrington was unlucky, wasn't he? It's just positional awareness just caught him out a little bit, and he ducked him behind. 50-50 penalty, and then really ill discipline, wasn't it? The second one, that was just poor. Started outside the box, went into the box. Rules say it's a penalty.
Shows you the threat of Harry Sawyer, though, doesn't it? Like, he's just such a big presence, and players are going to do whatever they can to stop him. But silly, as you said.
Yeah, and that lack of discipline cost them the game, because I thought they were in control. Macarthur, to me, weren't threatening that much, and then Brisbane tried to counter back, but I don't think they have that type of game in them at the moment. I know they're defensively strong, but we're just need a little bit more work on that other side of the pitch before they get that next level, because when they look to chase, it was difficult for them to create something without trying to bomb forward. But unlucky for Brisbane, they had a real opportunity to stay with the top 2 with Sydney losing, but they've got Central Coast away, and they'd be pretty confident of beating Central Coast, because they're on a bit of a tough run at the moment, the poor Mariners. And Macarthur's got a tough doubleheader, don't they? City and then Newcastle. After their Asia exploits at top of the league, it's obviously cost them in the A-League, no matter how much you talk about having those home games and travel allowed, it's still going to impact and affect your game, isn't it? So like that, but then they might get on a run themselves. Like you said, they've got a bit of a gap themselves. So look, I think Macarthur has got really this game midweek is really going to define both teams at mid-table. They'll be desperate for it, but it'll be really interesting. We haven't seen the best of Macarthur yet in the A-League, have we? They're just battled their way through, but haven't shown their full ability just yet.
Yeah, really important win for the Bulls. This one, in any case, with the games coming up. Anthony Caceres missed this one. I'm not sure if he's going to be back for City or for the Jets, but he's an important piece of their squad. Harry Sawyer now with 4 goals for the season. Geez, this Golden Boot race is really tight at the moment. So, we could be looking at a low tally, but a tight Golden Boot table. So we'll see as we get closer to the end of the season. Let's go to the second game on Friday night. It was Auckland who beat the Wanderers 2-0. Strong start from the Wanderers, created several good chances in the first 15 minutes. Really should have taken the lead, but we're going to sound like a broken record, mate. It's the absolute story of their season. They cannot score goals. Decent chances from both sides late in the first half to Borrello and Sam Cosgrove. 57th minute, Auckland opened the scoring. Sam Cosgrove's shot hit Jesse Randall's boot. It was laying on the ground and looped over Lawrence Thomas. Was that intentional, mate, or just a bit of a fluke?
Oh, look, it's probably a fluke, don't you think? Oh, it was just he did try to chip him. It just I don't know, a nice 1-2 maybe.
It was, to be honest, it was really good feat from Cosgrove to even
Oh,
open up the
absolutely.
opportunity for himself. He's a good player, but yeah, I was looking at it and thinking, how did he loop that over Lawrence Thomas like that? And then you saw the replay, but straight away he
Good
pointed to
studs.
Jesse Randall on the ground that
Yeah.
that it was his goal. But and then your boy Lockie Brook, mate, doubled Auckland's lead in the 74th minute when he jinked inside and powered home. Scoring against his former club, did the non-celebration. No, sorry, not sorry, all that kind of stuff. Look, same old story for the Wanderers. They just can't score goals. That game was the fifth time in the 9 matches they've played so far this season they've failed to score. Looking at their goal scorers last season, Milanovic scored 12, Sapsford scored 8, Antonsen scored 7. They're all gone. They scored almost half their goals last season. I just don't think they've been replaced effectively. As I said, we're going to sound like a broken record. We might say this every single week, but it is their problem.
Oh, it's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously the players would have wanted to go overseas. But you never want to lose these players as a club. It's just happened to come at once. We can even add Oscar Priestman. A bit of creative and work rate in the midfield there. He's a little bit more creative than the hard yakka that they've got in there now. They're going to have to address it. I'm sure they're fully aware of it. Once they get that right, though, I think they do have the ability to push up quick through the ladder. But unfortunately, where they got to wait another 9-10 days before the January window opens, and that they're going to need to go out there quick because if they don't fix it, they're going to be where they are now, which is second last.
Well, as I said, the first 15 or 20 minutes or so, they had some great chances. They could have been 2-3-0 up. And if they convert those chances, it completely changes the game. They can probably sit back a bit more defensively, make Auckland push onto them. But, they just haven't been taking their chances, and it's a real problem. Probably, I think they scored 3 against the Mariners, and I think that's probably about half of their goals all season. So, yeah, it's a big issue for them, and they just haven't replaced well enough. Let's go to the other side, mate. Auckland FC, 3 in a row for them. They play Sydney FC next weekend, as we mentioned, at Leichhardt Oval on Saturday, but looking really solid, aren't they? And
Oh,
with Sydney
yeah.
FC slipping out, Melbourne City slipped up on the weekend as well, and just all falling in their favour.
You miss a moment against Auckland, and you're going to get punished because what they do the best in the A-League is control. They just control that football. They're the best at moving it. They're the best at passing it. And they just are so deadly with their football, aren't they? And they possess the ball so well. And they've got the players to play that system. Corica's got them firing. And we said at the start of the year they're going to be extremely hard to beat because they just control the game so well. Like, just in the moment, in the big moment, they just come up with that and then they just suffocate teams, don't they? That's what they're good at. And wow, I can't wait to see this top of the table clash. And I can't wait to see them over there as well. Imagine the crowd over there if the table's pretty similar when Sydney FC have to return because they might sell it out.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, chance to put a 5-point gap on Sydney FC if they take this one out, and yeah, the next challenge is back at Brisbane and Adelaide. So yeah, we might be seeing a similar story to what we saw last season with Auckland running away with the Premier's plate, but early days just yet. Let's go to Adelaide, who beat Perth 1-0 for the late game on Saturday. Craig Goodwin with an absolute wonder strike, giving Adelaide their first away win of the season. They've been strong at home, not so much away. This win snapped a 3-game losing streak for the Reds. Craig Goodwin looked very dangerous, particularly early in the game. He did miss a penalty, however. Matt Sutton saved his penalty with his feet. Kept him up there and got his foot to it. Not long before halftime, unbelievable speed from Yaya Dakuli to win the penalty in the first place. Perth had some chances throughout the game to get something out of it, but were wasteful in front of goal. Brian Kaltak ended up in the net, but probably would have been better off putting the ball in the net. But currently without Adam Taggart and Jaden Kacharski, Perth Glory. So, yeah, an opportunity probably for some of their other strikers to step up, but certainly missing those two who are usually pretty clinical in front of goal.
Yeah, look, they've only scored one more goal than Western Sydney, and we've just spoken about their woes, so only scoring 7 goals. So it is their issue. At least they're back competitive, consistent, and look, I think they're in a good spot after obviously the earlier problems that they've had. So look, the Lion will bounce back and he's put the Raw back in Perth, but might just have to wait till next week. But Adelaide, I think they've shown some promise, and to get the away win, that'll give them a lot of confidence because all their wins have come at home. So that'll give them a lot of confidence, get one away. And, because they've won their fourth game, they've slipped up the fourth very quickly. So it just goes to show how quickly you can change the league table in this A-League competition.
Yep. Panache Badania sent off late in this one for a bit of a silly challenge with the leg raise. And the line you mentioned there, Adam Griffiths, appointed the permanent Perth Glory coach during the week. So well done to Adam Griffiths, well deserved. And I believe it's a 1 year or for the remainder of this season with an option. So I think that's a smart contract. He's done well to consolidate, but hasn't yet proven himself and gives Perth the option at the end of the season as to what to do with Adam Griffiths. So I think that works for all parties involved, and hopefully Perth can get back in the winner's circle sooner rather than later. All right, let's go to the final game, mate, of the weekend. And yeah, it was more misery for the Mariners, unfortunately, as Wellington beat them 3-1 across the ditch. Yeah, pretty dominant performance there from Wellington. I think same old story for the Mariners. A few lapses in concentration, and I just don't think that they were up for it. And unfortunately, this result means that they are sitting at the bottom of the ladder, which is where a lot of people predicted them to be. And yeah, as sad as it is that they're there, I think, their performances just haven't been good enough after showing some bright sparks early in the season.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And yeah, look, the poor Mariners there. And they've got Brisbane next week. So look, hopefully at home they can get some spark back. But obviously, what a crucial win for Wellington as well. They needed that one, didn't they? And it just consolidates their mid-table. Again, we thought these clubs would be down the bottom half of the table, and it's playing out that way as well.
The goal scorers in this one, Corbin Piper opened the scoring for Wellington Phoenix before Sabat Nyor scored a goal just before half-time. Mandrake James stepped up for the penalty. It was his first game back since he was sent off in the New Zealand Derby. And then Carlo Armiento sealed the game in the 52nd minute. That one was really some lapse defending from the Mariners. So, yeah, just haven't got the firepower at the moment up front, and unfortunately just a bit too leaky at the back. So, sad to see the Mariners down where they are, but unfortunately, I think that's probably a fair position for them to be at this stage.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Chief, let's move over to the A-League women. With victory, beat the Jets 3-1. Victory dominated as Kendi White scored her sixth goal in 8 games with a free header after being found by Jenseski's wand of a left foot. And play of the match, Rihanna Polachina then got Victory's second with a brilliant first-time volley. Nicolette Flannery added a third, and the Jets scored a consolation goal through Lauren Allen late on. Well, what about this result? For Bev, Wellington, Thrash, Sydney FC, 7-0. What happened in this game, Chief?
I did not see this one coming at all, mate. And I don't think a lot of Sydney FC fans in particular did as well. But Wellington have been a bit up and down this season, but Sydney FC have been okay. But yes, Sydney travelling over. I'm not sure if they took the Phoenix lightly or not, but it was doubles to Sabitra Bandari, who, I don't know if you've seen this, mate, but wherever she goes, the Nepalese community just come out in their droves and they get right behind. I think it was in Perth last week, and there were hundreds of Nepalese fans just coming out to see her. So that's so awesome for the game, and probably something that some other A-League clubs should consider with just the absolute fandom that Bandari is experiencing at the moment. Grace Charlie also got a double, and this one, the 26-year-old Kiwi. But amazing result for Wellington. And I'm sure, they've had a few injuries and a few other things going on with their club this year. So, great results coming into this Christmas period for them.
Oh, just can't believe 7-0. Anyway, well, Sydney FC will be having a very sad plane trip back. All right, this was a big game. Canberra United score late to rescue a point in a 1-1 draw with the Mariners. Mariners win the grand final last year. Annalise Ramazan scores for the Mariners, and Sasha Grove. What a year this girl's having. Hey? The young 20-year-old equalises for Canberra. So she was from Western United, Sasha Grove, and wow, she's performing for Canberra, the young Matilda, and doing a fantastic job, and keeps Canberra rolling on in the Ninja A-League.
One more thing on the A-League Women's. Just wanted to
Yeah.
congratulate Chloe Berry-Hill, who announced after the game last weekend that this would be her final year of professional football. She still has hopes of making the Asian Cup squad for the Matildas, but she's had a great career. A big fan of Chloe Berry-Hill for what she does both on and off the field. I think she's a fantastic advocate for the game. And yeah, hopefully she can sneak into that Asian Cup squad. We know Tamiki Yella will more than likely miss that one with her injury, so there might be a spot opening up. But fantastic career, and I can see her actually doing some amazing things post her career as well. So well done to Chloe Berry-Hill.
Yeah, well said, mate. Fantastic ambassador for women's football. All right, buddy. Now it's team of the week time. What do you got for us this week?
All right, mate. Goals. We've got Jack Duncan for his outstanding performance in the Melbourne Derby. That goal scorer, Sasha Grove for Canberra United. Lewis Miller, solid performance from him for Blackburn during the week. Jake Gerwood-Reich has been solid all year for Auckland FC. Callum Elder for his clean sheet during the week. Keanu Bacchus, how could we leave Keanu Bacchus out after his big 3-1 win over Celtic to win the Scottish Cup? Alex Badalado was fantastic in the Newcastle Jets midfield yesterday against the Sydney FC. And now Mopper have gone for a very, very attacking front four. So Zach Saps for his one to strike, Sam Kerr for hers as well, Harry Sawyer for his double, and Dylan Wenzel-Halls for his double as well. So plenty of goals in that front four. Don't know who's going to do the defending, but that doesn't matter in our team of the week. And who is your super sub, Mopper?
Well, when you don't defend, you just score more goals. And how can you go past super sub? Is Matt Grimaldi, super sub of Melbourne Victory, wins the Melbourne Derby, and bragging rights go to Victory after an awesome goal outside the box with his left foot. Grimaldi is Mopper's super sub, and what a win for Victory. Well done, Matt. You've done a fantastic job.
All right, mate. And this is one we're going to start doing now because I want to know from you, Mopper, who is it a big week for coming up?
Well, let's start overseas before we head back home. We have tonight Celtic at home to Aberdeen and Hearts at home to Rangers. So I think this is a huge defining moment in the Scottish Premiership. If Heart can beat Rangers tonight and Celtic Aberdeen, will Celtic finally break that 4-game losing streak? They've gone from a all over the place start, and then obviously Brendan Rodgers leaves. In comes Martin O'Neill, the saviour, settles the ship. Hearts dropped 4 games. Well, they didn't lose everyone. They got some draws in there. They catch back up, and then they get a new manager in. Martin O'Neill goes out the door, and then all of a sudden, Celtic lose 4 in a row, one being a cup, and now face Aberdeen after Hearts won last week and have got back in front. And if you look at Celtic, you know who beat them in the Scottish Cup last year, Chief?
Aberdeen.
Aberdeen. So it is on tonight. So I think the Hearts game at home to Rangers, we've seen the Rangers. They had an awful start, which cost the job of the Rangers coach. And then drip feed all the way through with the amount of draws that they've got, hang around that third, but now they're fourth because Motherwell's moved up there. And at home, can they get for that round of 15 boxing match and punch Rangers out of this title? It's the clash of the Titans.
15 rounds in a boxing match?
Yeah, well, in Rocky, there was 15 rounds, surely. But it's all on the line in Scotland tonight. So I can't wait to see these games. And I know Aberdeen's away. And mind you, their last 5 appearances apart from the Cup, Celtic smashed them 5-1, 6-0 and 5-1. So I'm holding up a glimmer of hope that they can bring their Cup form back in. But, Chief, Aberdeen are undefeated in the league in 7 games. So watch out. They could be a threat after a very poor start to the year. So
Celtic might prefer to play away from home the way they're currently going. I'm sure the fans will be on their back.
Very frosty, very frosty. And then back home in the A-League, Chief, how can you not go past? It's all on the line this week. It is Sydney versus Auckland. Sydney at home. Top 1 and 2. We should see hopefully some good weather, hopefully, and a big crowd out for that one. Who will be at the top of the A-League ladder at the end of Christmas, Chief?
Auckland.
Boom. The control freaks. All righto. Without Ocon, maybe that midfield will be very hard to manage from Auckland. So we'll watch this space. It'll be a cracker of a game. So it's all on the line in Scotland, and a massive pre-Christmas special or after Christmas special for Sydney versus Auckland.
Yeah, mate, it should be a couple of cracking games, and it's going to be a big week for a lot of our Australian players. For our last episode of 2025, which will be next week, mate, we're going to be recording, and we want to know your best moments in Australian football in 2025. When you reflect back on it, it's actually been an amazing year for Australian players and teams and managers. But we'll go through the top 5, but we want some fan input. So either reply in the comments on this podcast episode or hit us up on the socials on the Aussie Game. Yeah, we want your fan input because we want to celebrate the top 5 moments in Australian football in 2025. Any come to mind for you, Mopper?
Oh, there's heaps. How many trophies have we won this year as Australians? Oh, how do you put them in the top 5? Some poor person's going to miss out. Arsenal's Champions League, Kevin Muscat's Chinese, league title. Wow, that's just unbelievable. We've seen the Socceroos get through the World Cup. Wow, the list goes on and on, doesn't it? There's some crackers in there, so I don't want to keep going through the list, but there's plenty more. If you look further down there, we've had a first league title in Europe. Was it in Sweden?
Didn't someone win the Europa League? Or?
Yeah, the Europa League. Yeah. Oh my God. Football is Aussie foundation, mate. There you go.
Under 20 Asian Cup.
Under 20 Asian Cup. We could go on all night. Anyway, go put them in order. We want to see what your top 5 is. Jeez, good luck with that.
Let us know your best moments, and we'll take on all the fan feedback, and we want a top 5 list from our community, not just what we think as well. So yeah, send in all your thoughts, and we'd love to hear from you. If there's any that we've missed, we want to talk about them and celebrate what a great year it's been for Australian football. So yeah, that'll be next week's episode of the Aussie Game Podcast. But that'll do us for tonight, mate. Thank you for your time. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back on Sunday next week to record our last episode of 2025. In the meantime, enjoy your football.
Yes, and everyone, have a great Christmas. All the best to everyone, to their family, friends and loved ones, and enjoy all the feast of football that we've got coming this week.